For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Stockdale Paradox, I hope you can use this immediately in how you might gain clarity for how you're addressing the current crisis we're in as a world and nation with the COVID scaring that's going on and the quarantine and the fear-driven sensationalism that actually exists. And you as a consumer have to cut through this and try to understand what it means to you and how much truth is involved in that and what is designed for the masses to control behavior. So the Stockdale Paradox is extremely relevant right now. It's urgent and important to understand how to get a mindset that allows you to stay grounded and realize the power with which you have in this moment to be able to move forward with yourself, number one, and then your family and who you may influence. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you get the magnitude of why Dr. DeLolo and I want to share this, why it's important for others to have some of this knowledge to then move forward for themselves so you can reach your best self. Enjoy our episode.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Dr. Wade. This show was created for and inspired by the thousands of patients I've served, so it's time for me to speak up and speak out on their behalf. With a wide range of experts, we bring you weekly insights, diving deep into topics of controversy to bust through the sugar coating that keeps you and your family stuck in the mainstream.
Keep the smacking down, 'cause I can't understand why another man would hurt another. People are people, so why should it be?
You got a good voice.
Thanks, man. It's in my genes.
Yeah. That's no joke.
Did you get that one?
It's in my genes.
So, wow, a lack of focus that's out there. A bunch of chaos, which could be turned into K-ord. So a lot of people get spun around in this mess. And what's interesting is I was on a board meeting yesterday and we had this conversation, and some of our members who are incredible chiropractors, and they're out and they're in their practices and they're taking care of folks right now here in Wisconsin, as are you in New Jersey and many other states. And yet there's plenty of offices that have closed down and they're interpreting it their own ways. And so the question came up, what does the public really need from us? Who do they need us to be? What is it that they're really looking for? Where are people being distracted? And so as the president of our association, and we were on this board meeting to get 3 things accomplished in urgency, I re-corralled the group and shared with them this paradox. And it was great. And it wasn't just, all on me and they were off. It was more just like, I asked familiarity of the Stockdale Paradox, and not many knew about it. So it was fun to bring up, and it was they encouraged me to share this is the point. So the encouragement, number one, with Stockdale Principle is this came from my first exposure to it, and maybe Frank, you can tell me where yours was too, but Good to Great by Jim Collins, correct? Is that where? Yeah,
absolutely correct. Yep.
Dr. Frank and I were part of a business group professionally that would mastermind, and this is one of our books to focus on, and it was fantastic as we were building our business 18, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So Good to Great by Jim Collins, what they did is they put a research team together to discover what made great companies different from good companies. Remember, good companies were still profitable, but great companies set themselves apart. And one of the founding pieces that they discovered in that process was the companies that could spin off the Stockdale Paradox was this: never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be. That's by James Stockdale.
It's James Stockdale. Yep. James Stockdale was he was a vice president candidate at one point in time. He is a naval officer, is a naval officer, and was also, I guess most importantly in this context, a POW in Vietnam. And that's where this Stockdale Principle came into play.
So Stockdale Principle, every day when you're faced with brutal beating and to near death, just to be sent back to the darkness on the dirt, whatever it might be, wherever they were housed, wherever they were put,
tortured for 7 years.
Tortured. That said, how do you manage the state of mind you're in? And this man specifically managed it. And the question that was asked to him was, who were your mates alongside that didn't make it? And what was your take on why they didn't make it? You remember that one, Frank?
I do. So that's what I want to read. That's exactly what I want to read. Perfect segue. So, they were doing, it says, in a discussion with Collins for the book, Good to Great, Stockdale speaks out about how the optimists fared in camp. And the dialogue went something like this. He said, who didn't make it out? And Stockdale says, oh, that's easy. He said, the optimists. The optimists? I don't understand. I said, now completely confused, given what he'd said about 100 meters earlier as we were walking. The optimists, oh, they were the ones who said, we're going to be out by Christmas. And then Christmas would come and Christmas would go. Then they'd say, we're going to be out by Easter, and Easter would come and go. And then Thanksgiving, and before you knew it, it was Christmas again. And they died from a broken heart. So in quotes, that's from James Stockdale as asked by, right, for the book. So, one of the quotes, in addition to what Dr. Wade just said, the other thing I read was, balancing realism and optimism in a dire situation is key to success. You've got to see both. You've got to understand the reality or what's going on. Because what is reality? Let's not go there. But you have to understand the realism of the situation. And then at the same time, have the thought, I'm going to come out okay. Without maybe putting a limit on it and saying, this is going to happen. This COVID-19, for example, right? I'm going to say this again, but this virus that we've got going on is going to end by April 15th and everything's going to be good. Well, I don't know. And nor do you.
So to your point, I think as you were very selectively looking at words, one of the things you just stated there was, I don't know about reality. Well, reality true is what you paint it. So let's say this. Look at the facts for what they are. Tomorrow, I want to bring numbers to some folks, like literally just current numbers, and look at the reality and compare them in other areas. So that specifically is a whole different discussion where people can just look at the facts. Because why, Frank? We used to hear it when we were looking at statistics in our offices, because numbers what?
They don't lie.
Numbers don't lie, my friend. Right on.
People do, but numbers don't.
When we're looking at this, the facts of the situation in Stockdale's theory, the facts of the situation are, we're in a mess. We're in a government we're in a governmental shakedown where things are protecting the public, but there's some half truths along the way. And what I love about this is I love an optimistic attitude, but there's this Pollyanna style to this optimism that people kind of mislead, and it's in the river of denial, as we call it. It's missing the groundedness where people would judge you and say, well, you guys aren't taking this serious enough. You're just flighty and bouncing all over the place like there's a fairy tale and butterflies and unicorns. I would argue or just acknowledge, not argue because there's no argument, is acknowledge the possibility that's what many people do and how they look at it. So Stockdale's groundedness, the centeredness that says, hey, this is a real situation. These guys own me. I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of here. In a way, that's the reality to him. That's as real and factual as it can get from, because he doesn't know. But how do you keep that sane mind? Because the mind leads you into the fear, and then all of a sudden you're feeding that. Remember what we heard when we would always have these discussions, what dog are you feeding, right? The one, the story, the age-old story with the dogs in the Indian is the black dog, the white dog. Which one are you feeding? If you're feeding those fears, now you're perpetuating that reality. If you're grounded, as Dr. Frank's implying. So give me an example where people can step back, take a breath, and ground themselves in this. We've talked about strategies all along, and we don't want to sound like a broken record, but the reality is people are scared and people lack direction. I think what we probably have to look at seriously is, and this will be an upcoming episode, is the 3 reasons you as a consumer will never be empowered, with 3 solutions as to how you can take charge and take control.
Yeah. So you'll fill me in on those so that we can talk about them. But I got you.
Yep.
I want to add something here. You remember Viktor Frankl?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Wade? Yeah. Sorry to ask you that when you were just
Man's Search for Meaning.
Perfect. Man's Search for Meaning. And he did write that book. Those of you who don't know him, he was a psychotherapist, and he was also, maybe more importantly, a Holocaust survivor. Okay. He used the term tragic optimism. Tragic optimism. So, in other words, you remember the other day when we were on the call together and I was talking about ideas and concepts and what people believe will manifest in their body. I think that's very true. So his idea, if you think about it, the idea that he had as a Holocaust survivor with this tragic optimism in quotes was the idea that, again, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Mm-hmm. And he found that while he was in the concentration camp and he was going through what he was going through, is that the death rate or the mortality rate of the prisoners went up around Christmas time. Again, because of that hopelessness and that, yearning and wanting for something to happen at that time. So you're talking about being grounded. We're talking about getting a reality check. You have to take the reality check. And what like Viktor Frankl did is he mixed that with a positive belief. Here's an idea for you, right? Here's a concept. The positive belief that in the end, you will in fact triumph. Just another way of looking at this, right? Stockdale Paradox says, we want to balance realism with optimism. Viktor Frankl saying tragic optimism. You have to look at the tragedy and take it for what it is, but you also have to have the idea and the belief and the faith that you will triumph one day.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that philosophy. That's where I stand. That's where we stand in this process of still serving patients without a mask. That it doesn't mean we're not acknowledging the current situation, except that we don't buy into that germ theory or we'd all be dead already. The germ theory, if it were true that germs cause all disease, that's the cow that this sits upon. So let's call that spade right what it is. The whole model of allopathic care is based on the germ is the cause of the disease. We talked about the soil and the seed. The seed is not the cause of disease. The seed is a seed. The seed will grow where it can grow. Bugs are opportunistic. Bugs are everywhere. You've already been inhaling viruses your whole life. You have an immune system that's recognized that. Why doesn't the media, this is one of the things we're going to discuss at length, Dr. Frank, is why wouldn't the media want you to know this? How dare they not want me to feel empowered? Under the condition they want you to feel empowered. We don't have to get into that today. Yep. But this is structurally set up to push this listener into fear unless the listener has the wherewithal to just take that information as it is. For the reality, it's dangerous times right now. Follow preparation and preparedness and know you're going to see this through. Live with confidence. Support your brethren. Support your neighborhood, your community. Stand firmly. Be optimistic in the process, but not so that you're flighty and you're just like, blind optimism. I can keep drinking sugar water, eating crap, not getting rest, pounding alcohol, blah, 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 and I'm just going to optimist my way to health.
Right. That's not the case.
That's not the case.
And we're not saying that at all. Right? I don't know if I shared this with you. I'll just share this with you quickly. Just to, I think for the viewers and the listeners, it will be beneficial to hear this. I got this from another colleague of ours. I don't know exactly where he got this, but I guess there's people out there that listen to the news and then they take excerpts from it and maybe they get a news source of a quote of some governmental people, etc., And then they take it and they put it into these formats, right? It's not conspiracy theory. It's actual footage. It's actual information that was out there that maybe, to your point, wasn't broadcasted on the the popular medias, right? So it says just this morning. So I think this was yesterday.
Okay.
Just this morning in the New England Journal of Medicine. Now, Dr. Wade, would you say the New England Journal of Medicine is held in pretty high regard, pretty high prestigious a medical journal?
Within publications, yes, it is.
Yes, right. So not saying that I do or I don't. I'm just saying that I would say the majority of people do. So the New England Journal of Medicine, Dr. Anthony Fauci, everyone knows who that is. That's that little guy. That's the doctor that's standing next to the president all the time.
Otherwise known as Fauci. Yep.
Fauci, the grandfatherly looking, soft-spoken, okay. So Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and lead medical spokesperson for the White House Coronavirus Task Force, said in bold, this is what he said, COVID-19 is really going to end up being like a bad flu season. I'm not saying that. He said that. So I'm just sharing that with you. These are some of the things that come across my table, that come across my plate, and I read them. And I'm not going to hang my hat on that and say, see, that's what he said. But I'm just sharing it with you. I'm sharing it with the people that might be listening and seeing us here, and just saying that even he is saying that. I had a buddy of mine, an ex-neighbor of mine, call me last night. He says, hey, by the way, did you see the woman that was on the news and they were asking her a lot of questions about that? He said, if you listen to her carefully, he said, the numbers that she was sharing is basically stating, even right now, that this is not adding up to what they thought it was going to be. And again, I'm not downplaying this. Please listen to what I'm saying. I'm not downplaying this. I'm just saying it's starting to be even viewed and looked at right now with a little bit more of a critical eye and a logical eye. You say what, Dr. Wade?
I'm laughing at you. You're so full of shit.
Yeah. No, I'm lying like a rug.
You are downplaying it.
Well,
no, I mean respectfully. So here it is. I can laugh. I was singing earlier. I have a sense of humor. In fact, you all need to have a sense of humor. Dr. Lolo is funny, but he's really serious about helping people. And so, number one, you can't worry about not taking this serious enough. We do. I take every precaution in my office with my patients, cleaning tables individually after every contact. My staff has permission to not be there if they don't want to be. They actually want to be there. We are there as a choice every day because of what we love to do. We recognize the seriousness and we also recognize the fun that has to exist in the same day for us to remain human beings living our life. So I called Dr. Frank out on being full of shit because he's still doing a little dance around accepting and being loved and liked by the population. And so he's a good messenger, which I love about him because he's not going to oversell anything. But here's the point. You're full of shit because the reality is there's chaos. Our reality is we're not worried. We're not worried. You gave some great quotes and facts right there, and they're going to be interpreted in many different ways. I got the same folks that come in with confidence, and I've got some patients that are not going anywhere because of a lack of confidence. We talk about it like straddling the fence. Like imagine yourself standing with 1 foot in your neighbor's yard and 1 foot in your yard with a picket fence, a white picket fence in between. And you're going to straddle this fence of knowledge. On one hand, you're being told that you should fear and run for your life, or actually in this case, sit for your life at home and basically just sit and wait and watch our news, and we'll keep you posted on how to think and feel today. And on the other hand, you've got people living their life. And so the other leg in your yard so that's the other yard. Because, see, that's not even self. That's outside of self. We could get deeper and metaphysical with this, but that's non-self. That's external forces pushing you and trying to paint your reality, which is only a manifestation or mirror to which how you think and how society thinks, the consciousness. So now you have your foot in your yard and you've got this sharp picket fence in the groin. It doesn't feel good to straddle this fence. You have your belief. Oh my gosh, these guys say I have this healing potential. These guys say my body's smart. These guys say germs are on the same biological continuum that my body is. These guys say that I can live freely, happily. I can take care of myself every day. I can exercise. I can keep my mind clear. I can focus on love, kindness, serving my people, being supportive, kindness, well done, truth. And so here you sit today, confused. You got one foot in. I'm leaning into where? Where are you leaning? Are you leaning into the fearful side in that, oh, I better just take precautions? And now everything is generated around, oh, what's the mass think? What does the mass group think? Well, then I have to feel that same thing. Well, guess what? I don't. I don't have to feel that. Dr. DeLolo, do you?
Or no, I don't. Or have people stand in tremendous judgment about how someone does feel about it, right? It's the collective thought is it's really, really bad. And maybe there's doctors like ourselves that are saying, well, you've got this power within you. And then if you speak that way, then, there's maybe, and I'm not saying I've experienced this, thank God I have not. But if I do, oh, well, that, we're wrong and you're not taking it seriously enough. Right before I got on with you this morning, Dr. Wade, I was listening to two things. On the way in, I don't listen to the radio much, but Dr. Oz, you know who Dr. Oz is, right?
Yeah.
So he was on there and they were saying, hey, Dr. Oz, today in New Jersey, even though it's crummy right now, it's going to be like 68 degrees by day's end. It's going to be, and this past couple of days when it was nice out, there was a ton of people out in the neighborhood and people want to get out of their homes. Do we have to stay in our houses? Do you really think? And Dr. Oz is saying, he says, listen, according to his guidelines, I'm just going to share this with you. He's like, as long as you're 6 feet away from somebody, you're not getting the virus. You'd have to be like licking one another or something, like sharing salivas and so forth.
Salivas?
Salivers.
You mean like my saliva and your saliva is salivas?
Yeah, like plural together. There's 2 salivas or 3.
Okay.
So, even he is saying that and saying, get out. Dr. Oz, I was wondering when I go on a run and I'm outside, should I go outside and jog? But then sometimes I get on the sidewalk there and I'm 3 feet away from somebody and I'm passing them. Am I at risk? Holy shit, right? I mean, really, but okay.
No, I was running just the other day, Frank, and I passed a father and his daughter, and I did this. I gave the peace sign as I'm walking by. Running by. I'm just like, what's up? And I'm freaking just chilling and smiling. And I watched their response, and we were on a bike / path, and it was pavement. And so all of a sudden we're like, and there's 3 of us, so we're like this, and all of a sudden, boom, they're just like, whoa, and they get way to the edge. And I was just, I smiled as they did it because I'm fascinated by people. I'm fascinated by the behavior. No judgment. I get where they come from with it. I go to Costco 2 days ago. You got sneeze shields. I'm at my grocery store. You got big sneeze shields there, I get it. That's perfect. Prepare. That's safety for the workers. Does it support or perpetuate? Does it drive home a deeper message? It's all based on the person and the attempts. I'm asking my people every day, what are your thoughts on this? How are you holding up mentally with this mess? How can I help specifically? What's confusing? What's unanswered? What's your family doing? Because you get adjusted, but the rest of your family may not. How are they holding up? Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating hearing their responses, and it's awesome to hear how grounded at least my patients that I'm communicating with are. They're grounded. They get it. They get the process. Not everyone does. Not every one of them does by any means, because like you, I have a vast range of folks that we help, and we don't make it conditional. So we just honor them. And the real key is, where are they getting their information and what state? So what state are we in? Are we in, because we're dynamic, you guys have moods that happen and go on throughout the day. What kind of mood are you in, and what kind of moods are you holding? Right?
I'm so glad you brought up this scenario when you were jogging and the response of those people, because it's something that's been on my mind, and I probably have said it, but I want to say it again and again because I don't think it could be said enough. I would just ask you, and I know how you feel about it, obviously, but I would ask anyone listening or watching, what do you want to do? Do you, first of all, do you believe in the fact that there is strength in numbers? There is strength when we are together, not separated. So we're being separated to not pass on the virus, right? That's what we're being told to do. But that doesn't mean that when Dr. Wade's on a run, that someone can't say, hello. My wife and I went on a bike ride. We never go on bike rides. So now we have time to go on bike rides, right? We're driving around and it was like ghost town. Our town is like a lot of places right now. And it was so eerie as we were driving across the street where there was people, families, like mommy and daddies playing with their kids on the front lawn. And as I'm driving by on my bicycle, they kind of like look and they're like, you know, like, I'm like, and I'll give one of these. I'll be like, you know, and they're kind of like, ooh, please, we gotta. It's okay. We're not gonna get ill, and you're not gonna catch the virus if you say hello. I understand we're in trying times. I understand it's stressful. I get all that, but we're stronger like this, not like this. We are stronger together. We're stronger together. I can't emphasize that enough. And to have to practice some kindness and some hope and some faith and have some truth. It's okay to be nice. It's okay to still be kind. It's okay to still gesture and have a friendly disposition. I'm just saying.
100%, brother. The fun part of this experience is people have a way of getting through hard times and coming out better on the other side. I know there's gifts in this, and I know there's an attempt. So on our next podcast, we're going to break down like I stated, the 3 reasons that you will never reach your potential if you continue the same path. But the 3 things you can do to completely change that outcome and empower yourself and experience your best self. And it has to do with the tiered approach. It's a tiered approach at what you are being told, the information that you get and you seek, and why that information comes through the way it does, through the lens it does, because there's a directive and agenda, and it has nothing to do with conspiracy. It is big business and managing the herd. Managing the herd. Imagine what happens if this herd was disruptive to the government. Imagine what would happen if this herd did not follow their orders. Imagine if people had a way to dispense through the BS that's being told every day. People, are you not pissed off? I'm going to give you an example of this. Are you not upset that the FDA had okayed through food manufacturers to change labeling of high fructose corn syrup? If you watched any of my episode recently with Morley, high fructose corn syrup blocks your body's ability at the cellular level to get copper into the cell. And guess what copper does? Copper is essential for you to run your metabolic pathways. It's what makes vitamin C different than ascorbic acid. It's what gives your body power to heal and mend and function normally. And guess what? The same people you empower to tell you how to think every day. This is just a taste. The same people are telling you the same information to get you to do exactly what they want you to do. I'm frankly speaking about this. It isn't conspiracy. And this is a message of hope and optimism and truth while you have reality. Dr. Frank, what do you want to give to that?
Well, I would say we're going to wrap it up, right? So I just want to make sure that, because I want to ask you a question before we leave.
Go ahead, ask the question. Ask the question.
So in conclusion, I think we're all coming out on the other side of this different. I think going through this, people's perspectives are going to change immensely. I hope, I pray, and I wish for a good one coming out on the other side better. What is your opinion about that in relation to people coming out on the other side of this and choosing healthcare choosing what they even do for a living. Maybe more people are going to be entrepreneurial because of the climate right now and the knowingness now of what it could become. What are your thoughts on that in conclusion?
I'm going to say absolutely we're going to come out better. We have an opportunity to grow from this, and people will, because that's my wife. She's practicing martial arts. So yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. Good job.
She's going to love knowing that you heard her. So she's managing her stress levels. The key here is yes, absolutely hopeful. And of course it's positive. It's positive because that's what we are as human beings. We adapt, we overcome, and we survive. And we're going in the way to serve is to help people, is to help and learn from it. So just like getting sick can teach us something if we're paying attention versus that, confirming that we're weak and irresponsible and unaccountable and dependent. It can teach you in the same lesson that you are independent. You're responsible for your health. I think all this is a natural process that we are going through as human beings at this time for good reasons. So of course, I think this is positive. I think the difference maker is either staying asleep and not growing from it and perpetuating a down cycle in your life, whatever that may be, or becoming awakened to the fact that you're responsible for your health, awake to what's really been painted as a picture of health and what isn't true. And that's for you to discover along the way as a consumer, as a patient, as maybe it's as a doctor, and you realize that the system isn't geared towards creating health. It's geared towards always trying to, instead of stopping a fire from growing or from actually starting, they're always just trying to put fires out. That's the easiest analogy. So maybe you shift for more now as instead of a firefighter, you become somebody that teaches people how to not get them started in the first place, which is where a lot of the focus in my office is in terms of inflammation and oxidative stress and how do we assist the body. And it's like inflammation at that level is always treating it. How about we get at why the inflammation is there in the first place? Therein lies empowerment for the patient.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yes, and don't be penny smart and pound foolish, says Beverly.
Penny wise and dollar foolish. Exactly. So back to, go ahead.
Yeah, what you said, penny smart, pound foolish.
So back to the Stockdale, I'm with you 100% that I think we can absolutely come out of this much stronger and much better. But let's look at it from a Stockdale principle and say the reality of that is, however, if you don't come through this with clarity in your thinking, with an open mind, with practicing things like this right here.
In the moment, present, today.
Maybe you won't, though, Dr. Wade. Maybe people won't come out better, right? That's a possibility. It's up to them.
It's up to them. It's up to them to come out better. The grand message here, folks, we love the ability to take care of people like we do because it's drugless. I mean, that's just, I've been asked many times when I was younger, why didn't you, by friends, why didn't you become a medical doctor, from people that don't kind of get what I'm doing? I couldn't, not because I couldn't academically. It's not how I see the world. It never was how I saw the world. It is not something that resonates with me, that the body needs a chemical from outside to make health or create health. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean that in crisis, someone can't benefit from medicine. Absolutely, they can benefit. But how do we live every day? Where's that? There's principles with what we deal with every single day that have grounded how Dr. Frank and I look at the body, see the body, understand the body, and we are not alone. It is age-old wisdom. It is over thousands of years. So that said, it allows us to have that confidence today to go, all right, I don't have to fear this thing. I can know that it's serious. Like, hey, they're there. And you can mutate versions of viruses. But guess what? We're going to survive with this. I'm going to do everything I can. I know I have grounded philosophies every day. It's kind of like your faith in God. Your faith in your creator gives you the ability to move forward today. So today, as Dr. Frank just said, practice kindness in the moment. see yourself getting through this without blinded optimism or blind faith, but grounded faith that you will get through this because you're a human being on this planet right now and you have the capacity to get through this and come out on the other side stronger as a result. I love your words, brother.
The principles Dr. Wade just said were true 1,000 years ago, as they are right now, and will be 1,000 years from now. The principles he just spoke to you about and just stated will be true, were true, are true, and will be true thousands of years before us and after us. Time-tested principles.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yep. Great words. If anything else, you guys are welcome to message us, leave some comments, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you much for listening to this week's episode. I look forward to any feedback and or questions you might have. Direct them to our Facebook page, Frankly Speaking, Dr. Wade at Facebook. Okay, my fellow health warriors, it's time to head over to iTunes, franklyspeakingdrwade.com. There, you can rate, review, and subscribe, as well as share so more of our brothers and sisters can grow to realize their voice. Speaking up means you matter. So, get on it. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views expressed are not medical advice and are not meant to replace the medical advice of your doctor. This podcast, including Dr. Wade Ananson and his guests, disclaim responsibility for any adverse effects you may experience from the specific use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse and accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about the guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for such services or products. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.